Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today, we got Brandon.
Hello.
And Nick is back.
Hi.
And we're here
Switch 2, brought him out of hiding.
Nintendo announced a new console, and poof, I'm here.
Yeah. New console, more Metroid. Nick returns.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Actually, funny. Real
But
quick,
you know what?
on,
Metroid Prime 4, most looked forward to game of the year. Easily the
Metroid
most looked forward to
Prime
game
4.
of this year.
Let me, first of all, I don't know if anybody who works at Retro listens to this podcast, but I would love personally to go to Retro Studios and shake the hand of everybody who works there, because not only did the remaster for Prime 1 just was cherries on the Switch 1,
Mm-hmm.
Prime 4 on Switch 1 is the most breathtaking game that I've seen on that hardware.
It
Don't
looks
know
incredible.
how they do it. And then they were like, oh, by the way, it's on the Switch 2 at upscaled 4K, 120 hertz, all that fun shit. And I'm like, God damn. I never thought in my lifetime I would see a bleeding edge Nintendo game.
Yeah.
And we are here. We have arrived. So, yeah.
A little bit of correction about that. It's 120 hertz at 1080p, 4K 60.
Yes.
You said 120 hertz at 4K.
Right. Yeah, I mixed it.
No, you're good. You're good.
They're doing the performance and
visual fidelity or something like that. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, no, that game looks absolutely incredible, both in presentation and just in general. Like you said, definitely a gaudy contender for me.
Absolutely. As long
figured,
as it is as good as it looks.
I figured you guys were going to put that as my number one for the end of the year anyway. So, but you never know too. Hey.
I guess
Who knows?
we can go from that to like some of the stuff I watched. I watched people play Metroid Prime 4 with the mouse controls.
Yeah.
In the Switch 2. That shit looks incredible. They were literally playing with controller and then they just turned it on its side and instantly went to mouse mode. Like there's no
you don't have to go
fiddling or anything. It's just instant, and it was fantastic.
Smart idea, honestly.
Watching the footage of that, I do not believe I will use that mode. I honestly would probably prefer to play that game with a Pro controller. Mm-hmm. However, I will at least I won't write it off completely. I will give it a shot because it's a brand new thing on the Switch too.
Mm-hmm.
It does look really cool, and I thought about it more because I was like, I feel like they're taking the best of both worlds with Prime, because obviously a lot of things people hated about Prime 3 was the motion controls. However, the control of like her arm cannon in that kind of like pretty good, because it wasn't just like a up and down, left, right. It was actual full control of motion. So I feel like having the mouse controls with the Switch 2 with this kind of brings back one of the better features from a game that otherwise people probably didn't really care for, because of the Wii shit. But yeah, no, I was actually surprised myself how fluid it was from playing regular controller style to then just flipping it. There was no menu, no
the ready
clunkiness.
actually like changes too, which allows you to know, hey, you're now in mouse mode. Like you can watch it happen on the fly when you do it. It was so cool. A few other takeaways from like watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell myself, Nick, but you're a computer guy also. You play PC games. You were saying like you'll probably play with Pro Controller, and I kind of have that same stance, but only if one thing is happening with the mouse mode. If it's not raw input and it's mouse smoothing, then I might have a problem.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because like mouse smoothing feels awkward.
So
I can't tell which one it is.
People were saying that because there was a hands-on event in New York this
yeah, I know. I watched a 4-hour video of someone that went there.
From what I can see, people were saying that the mouse feels like pretty like one-to-one, like it feels very like accurate, precise, whatever you want to, however you want to call it. So I'm really thinking it is like legit raw input, that hardware. Because why else would you put the parts in there? Because it's not like an IR blaster. It's an actual like the eye you would have in your mouse. So which is a little bit fancier than an IR blaster. So if it feels like I'm using a computer, for sure. I played
the original Metroid Prime with like mouse controls, and it was incredible. So I really hope that that's the same way Metroid Prime 4 does.
Yeah, Honestly, I would have to figure out how I would set my setup up to use mouse controls because I don't have like a desk that I would play my Switch 2 on. I'd play it on like my big screen.
Mine would 100%. They said that you can use your pants leg and it works just as well.
Okay.
Which is really weird, but
I usually have my dog next to me, so I might use her.
There you go. Few other things about Metroid Prime 4 when I was watching it. We were talking about the difference between the Switch 1 and Switch 2 and how Switch 1 looks incredible, even like compared to the Switch 2. And it's magic how they were able to pull off the fidelity of the Switch 1. Apparently it's 900p, which is very good, and it does run at 60 FPS.
Yeah.
So that's like,
which is insane.
Incredible. Insane. Yeah, insane to me.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I'm very excited for that one. That is probably my most look forward to game. Aside from Duskbloods, which is just Bloodborne again.
It is just Bloodborne. It is more Bloodborne. I thought of you immediately when that trailer started playing. I was like, "Ooh, Brandon's gonna be excited."
Oh yeah, that's what I said too when we were talking about it last week.
I'm super excited.
And then actually, it's funny too because when I was watching the portion that was showing off Donkey Kong, I was like, I think I just found Mike's. Well, at least if not your top 3, your top game this year will probably be Donkey Kong.
I think it might be mine as well. I watched a lot of footage of that Donkey Kong game, and
yes, Donkey Kong was really good.
Just because I know you hate.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying because I know. To me, in my head, it's funny because I know you hate 64 so much. So just the thought of like a 3D Donkey Kong game being like your game of the year just made me giggle.
Yeah. So it's pretty obvious, and it hasn't been confirmed yet. But I'm pretty sure that the developers are the same people that worked on Mario Odyssey.
It is.
Yeah,
I don't think it's officially
trouble
confirmed,
getting it confirmed because like people asked them like yesterday. They were like, "Is the people that are working on?" And they were like, "No comment." Like I thought there was an interview yesterday that like
they were talking about. What does no comment? What does no comment mean?
Afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, Donkey Kong looks good. I watched, I think both. I don't know how many Treehouse segments they did for it, but I watched at least 2 of them.
I watched all of the Treehouse like both days.
Yeah, I watched. Well, at least I had the entire first day on in the background. How much of it I retained, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Donkey Kong looks great because I mean everything's destructible. I think that's kind of cool. I think that in the puzzle elements that they have with like the different like materials, I think is really neat because sometimes you'll pick up like soft ground and it's not as usable, but then you can pick up like explosive ground and then use that to blow things up. And you can literally, I watched them go from like top to the bottom of the level and then all the way across from void to void. And yeah, it's like there's nothing that stops you. The game just keeps going. Like it.
So I guess I have to ask this because there are 2 spoilers that came about, one for Donkey Kong and one for Mario Kart. Am I allowed to share spoilers? Do you guys want me to share spoilers? Because there's some weird shit going on with both of those games.
I don't know because the 2 things I saw for both of those games were like images that popped up. One that was art. So one that was accidentally shared from Mario Kart, and then the other one for Donkey Kong, which showed another character that we didn't see in the trailer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's my question. Do you want that information given out on this podcast, or should I withhold it?
I mean,
I don't care. You can say it.
Yeah, I mean, the one, honestly, Brandon, the one for Mario Kart, I'm like, what do you mean you didn't think that was going to be in the game?
There's more to that now, actually, and I wanted to share that information.
Yeah, no, if you told me that you were shocked that Rainbow Road is in Mario Kart World, I would have been like, you're fucking stupid. I'm just like, what do you mean?
Something that makes that more interesting, and I'll share that because I do think it makes it more interesting. So, the Donkey Kong spoiler is Korea, like some Korean store uploaded their version of the box art, which is different. The little rock thing that was on Donkey Kong in our box art is replaced with a baby version of Pauline.
Yes.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, the ramifications of that is very interesting to think about. Like, maybe she is the Rock and just, like, she gets freed from it at some point. Don't know what's going on there, but it's replaced with a baby version of Pauline, and it's very clearly, like, a new designed model and the same art style as it, so it's not like a fake box art. It seems it looks like it's actually real. So
yeah, the art. So I found the key art for that online, and like it looks pretty official.
I'm pretty sure it's official.
Which
yeah.
I don't know if that makes it a. I don't if it's the Odyssey devs, does it make it like a prequel to Odyssey, or does it just fit into like the Donkey Kong lore in general? I don't know.
I'm wondering if this is a sequel to the original Donkey Kong. That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, who knows? Yeah. I feel like the new Donkey Kong model has been really getting shit on ever since it was shown in Mario Kart World. It's fantastic. I don't know why people hate it. The hate is so forced.
I mean, my only complaint is it looks like Seth Rogen, but other than that, like.
So since we've now seen the Donkey Kong game, Nick, I've seen the exact opposite. People pivoting and saying that the rare Donkey Kong is soulless.
No,
I mean,
honestly,
this has a lot more personality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I agree with that. It looks like Seth Rogen, but
it does a lot of his goofy faces.
It looks similar to his Donkey Kong in the movie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean,
it's more about his facial expressions. His facial expressions remind me of Seth Rogen.
I can see the Bonanza Donkey Kong making the laugh. I can see him doing that.
Smoking the ganja, making the laugh.
Yeah. Rolling up some bananas and smoking them.
Mm-hmm.
But I love this character model. It's so nice. Even the key art for Mario Kart World, I'm looking at that right now, and like that just so good.
Maybe we should slide into Mario Kart World.
Do you guys want to talk about that? Or was there any more you want to say about Donkey Kong?
I don't have anything else to say about Donkey Kong. I mean, we really don't know a lot still. I mean, it just looks like it's a lot of fun.
I mean, there is some like
kind of how like the structure works, but
the persistent destruction of the world. Like if you destroy the world and then come back to a bit of it later, it is still destroyed.
Oh, that's nice.
It persists the whole time. And also, whenever you like pull up the map that you see is a 3D rendition of everything you've destroyed. So the map is created by your destruction of the world, which is really fucking cool. So I like that element of it. It's kind of like the Doom map for like Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, but it updates with what you do to the world, which is really fucking neat in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Apparently, like the general gist of how the game is played is you're always digging down to go further and further into the crust of the world that you're on.
Okay.
So that's always a thing that's happening. Like you clear something so you can go deeper into the world. And it kind of felt like a bit like trippy because I saw like one clip where they cleared an area and they dropped down. And then when they dropped down, they were underwater, but not really. And you could look up and see a giant like water tornado in the sky that you just came from. And it was weird. It was like very trippy, but it looked awesome. So yeah. Pretty hyped for that game as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty solid.
Yeah, it does.
So, all right. I guess we can talk about Mario Kart now.
Yeah, let's move on to Mario Kart.
Okay.
So Mario Kart World, it exists.
We do have a Mario Kart World Focus Direct coming on the 17th, I believe.
17th.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, about another week or two. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get a lot more information about it. I mean, I feel like we already got a lot of information, but
we did.
We're gonna get a lot more.
I think they're gonna tell us why the open world is important when we see the Direct, and I feel like they're hiding something about the open world. And from some of the spoiler, again, I'm going to go into this and go ahead and talk about this. We already know about Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road exists. It's just a hidden map. And I think I know how you unlock it because more spoilers have come about, and there are 7 different torches located at different sides of the entire open world. And from the pictures of Rainbow Road, those 7 torches are lit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to travel the open world to light those torches to unlock more parts of the map and potentially more racing areas. And I think if you have elements like that in the open world to give it some like reason to exist, I think that's really cool. And I like that idea.
Yeah, it does seem like there's some unlockable stuff in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
What was it say? I may have just misheard it if you just said it, but there's like P switches hidden throughout the world.
Yep.
And like I saw one in one of the videos that they were showing was kind of like tucked away and like one of the repair buildings. But it was like you would think it's if you didn't know the kind of the way it was presented in the Nintendo treehouse was kind of like, oh, look at this, who knows what it could mean. But then when they showed the menu, it was obviously keeping track of a bunch of different things. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously this is something important. And another one of the signs even kind of definitely hits towards Rainbow Road as well. So
Yeah.
I think that there's at least one of the speculations I saw was that there's probably an 8th cup that's kind of more like cloud focused. Like
so the Rainbow Road thing was the thing leaked by, again, the same Korean retailer that did the Paulina leak. So we know for sure that Rainbow Road exists.
I think anyone that doubted that though would have you're playing yourself if you think Mario Kart's not going to have Rainbow Road.
Some people were like convinced it was going to be like that Star Road from like Mario World, and what they were going to do is they were going to have like another whole island, but it's just a Rainbow Road specific open world area, which does not appear to be the case.
I was assuming there'd be sections that you might be able to like get out of your cart and traverse a little bit.
Well,
that would be neat, but I don't think you'll be able to get out of the cart. That would be cool, but I don't know. I think those burgers are something more than they're letting on, because it doesn't make much sense. Why are they pickups that you eat and just change your costume? What is the deal with them? That's what I'm confused by. And I think
eat them. That's a problem.
That is the problem. The cow can't eat them. I have seen that video where the cow is eating a steak burger.
Somebody in my friend Discord was like, "How is he eating them?" I was like, "It's a black bean burger. It's fine. It's okay."
Yeah, I think it looks good. Yeah. I think it looks really good, just in general.
It does seem like there's going to be, what is it, like a lot of characters to unlock as well.
Yeah.
There's in like 85.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
So Mr. Bowser stated that the pricing for Switch games is so expensive, at least specifically for Mario Kart, because they're doing a sort of tiered system where based on the amount of content and work that was put into the game, that denotes what the price will be, and that they believe that the price of Mario Kart is justified because of just how much is in Mario Kart World. I don't know if I agree. I do think that a $80 game is quite a big jump from going to every single game on the Switch being $60, except a single game being $70, straight to $80. I do feel that's a little bit much, especially when you take into account we have other games that are having like full-on expansions being added through DLC for $20 that are also $80, and then you have one single game that's $80. It seems a little iffy. I do think the $70 price point would have been better, but
so
I do kind of get it.
This is one of the things that I've been going back and forth with.
Yes,
pricing in general, which we can.
Yes,
we'll delve into that with, I guess, like the system price later on. But like I was talking to one of my friends last night with this, right? So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is an $85 game.
Yes,
if
because
you buy
of the DLC.
The DLC.
Yeah.
Now, assuming, I don't know if this game will ever get DLC. Who knows?
Yeah.
You can't, because I mean, Mario Kart 8. It took them 5 years to make the booster course.
Yes.
Well, don't forget, Mario Kart 8 had. You say that, but remember it had DLC at launch on the Wii U.
It did.
And then it was repackaged into the deluxe version with new content for the Switch. And then and then on top of that, then 5 years later, then you got the booster pack.
Yes.
So they definitely did a lot of extra content for that game from its initial version to where we are today.
Yes,
that's true.
So I feel as though there's a hidden cost of games that people really don't, and I would never try to. I don't want to jump through the mental gymnastics of justifying games prices. I've seen so many people being like, "Well, games used to cost." Shut up.
Yeah,
that was the 90s. Like, I could buy a house for
houses then.
I could buy a house for $80,000 back then. You know what I mean? Like, and that would be a bigger conversation outside of games. You know what I mean? Like, that's not something necessarily intrinsic to games. But realistically, when you look at a lot of different games, right? There's a lot of games that, you buy the base game for $60. At least that's how it was. You buy the base game for $60, and then it'd be DLC, which that could be anywhere between $20, $40, $50. I forget how much was the Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC? Because I remember that being.
I feel like it was $25, maybe $30. I don't remember.
You figure that's an $85, $90, which honestly, I would say necessary DLC because, well, even like the Ultimate Edition of the game, very necessary because it fixed a lot of the issues that it had. So I feel
like $30. That's confirmed.
I feel like $60 has kind of been an illusion, or $70 has kind of been like an illusion because you have other things that you kind of add on a la carte, whereas maybe their justification for this is that instead of like releasing a DLC a year later with this content, everything is here for $80 type deal.
Okay.
So if there's I'm gonna let you know this right now. The word "if" is a lot of heavy lifting right now.
Yeah.
If this game has $80 worth of content and playability in it, then I think it's justified.
Okay.
And we won't know until 1, the game is in our hands on day 1. And then 2, whatever this direct has to show us. But even then, that's a lot of marketing. Like, I want to play this game to say, yes, this is worth $80.
Let me present a little bit of devil's advocating.
That's what I would expect
on the other side right here. Yeah, that's what I do. My thoughts are, I don't think any game currently, even with its DLC and its absorbent prices that we have right now, such as take for instance Assassin's Creed Shadows that just released. You got those $100 editions, $130 editions,
correct?
Or Atomfall, or upcoming Doom, or what have you. Blah 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 blah. I don't think that DLC should be factored into the base game price because I think it's a bit disingenuous. I also think that by Nintendo putting one game at $80, right, and having it out the gate for their system, that is all it's going to take for the floodgates to open, and all these other game companies that don't deserve that $80 price point are going to start charging it almost immediately. Sure. In fact, I believe by the end of this year, we will see the first standard edition $100 game.
For sure, GTA 6.
I think it will. I think it will happen before GTA 6.
So
that's the thing. I think some people will try to beat them to it.
My thing is, I would make the argument. There's a lot of games that come out that aren't worth the $60 price tag that people.
I agree. And I think there's some games
from somebody who bought Cyberpunk 2077 on launch.
Yeah,
that game was unplayable. Yeah. No, but I'm just saying from a standpoint of the pricing. Yeah. So I think the $60 price tag for a lot of games is the product that you get isn't worth the price that you spent, for sure.
I don't disagree.
And I think it's unfair that for a lot of AAA third-party developers, it's been release it broken, we'll fix it in post, and they get your money first.
Yeah.
And then what you were saying about like putting the DLC into the game, and that's what's bumping up the price.
Yeah.
I feel as though that's been happening for such a long time.
I do agree.
Even so, like with
different editions, like the silver and gold tier, I think that's how they do that sort of thing. And I don't disagree with you.
My frustration with stuff like that comes in is like there's games that straight up hid DLC on the disc that you bought, and then you had to pay basically for a code to unlock that DLC.
Yep, a lot of fighting games did that in the 360 and
Street Fighter does that.
Days. Okay, so they're still doing it. I didn't know that.
So that's my thing. I feel like I know for a very long time Ubisoft has been doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
All the different editions of games that they have.
And sometimes they try to force your hand to get the higher edition because of the amount of grind that it would take to play on the standard edition.
I think,
and that's scummy. That's absolutely scummy. Sure. I stand by you there.
I think Spider-Man was doing it too. When Spider-Man 2 came out, there was a bunch of different editions. Basically, I would say in the last 5 years, it's really ramped up. But I know Ubisoft has been doing it for a minute. I think EA's been doing it for a minute.
I will correct you. I don't know if Spider-Man 2 was. I don't remember there being.
Spider-Man had like an Ultimate Edition. had like with like DLCs and like costumes and stuff. So like my thing is, I feel
I'm gonna go try to inform myself and see if that is correct. I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm just saying I don't remember it personally.
The pricing gets lost in the weeds.
There is an Ultimate Edition that was $80. So yeah, you are correct about that.
So I think what happens is where it gets lost in the weeds is kind of how they're packaging it, right? Whereas a company like Sony, Ubisoft, whatever, will say, "Hey, you get the base game for $60, and then you get this Ultimate Edition for $80." Blah 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 blah. Whereas Nintendo is like, "No, you have one choice. It's not separate content. It is one big $80 game." So I think it's a little bit unfair to come at Nintendo for doing something that most developers have been doing for a very long time now. And again, too, big if. Is the content there to back it up?
Yeah. So I will,
without knowing.
I will sit here and I will agree with you, because here's the thing. I was never saying that like it doesn't deserve to be, treated like other games, or it doesn't, or that these other companies aren't doing what you're saying. I agree with you 100% there. My main fear is that by Nintendo doing this, everyone else will think, okay, well, time for me to charge a price for literally any fucking game whatsoever. And this is the now
hold your hand when I say this.
Industry standard.
I think companies were going to do that regardless. There was rumors as early as the beginning.
Had to open, and I think this is making it open a lot.
Yeah,
sooner.
But there was rumors at the beginning of last year that GTA 6 was going to be $100, and that was before any of these games were.
Pretty sure it will now, for sure.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I feel like whether Nintendo pulled this trigger or not, I feel like that was happening this year regardless. With a lot of different games, and I think unfairly so, people might try to pit. And again, I am not the kind of person who's like, don't attack the $1 billion company, because
obviously, and I am. I'm the kind of person that fuck the $1 billion company.
No, same. But my thing is, I always want flack to go where it's due, and I think when you live in a world where you're not pinning the blame on the person correctly, I think that. That breeds a little bit of misinformation. So I think to say like Nintendo putting out an $80 game opens the floodgates might have a little bit of truth to it for sure, but I also think a majority of these developers this year
they were absolutely going to do it. Absolutely. But I think they were waiting on GTA 6.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were like, I'm going to not have my game release in the same potential time frame as GTA 6. I do feel like some of that is they're afraid of the game, but I also feel like some of that is to adjust the market share, because they want to see what price GTA 6 will come out, and then what they can sell their game for instead.
And I know Ubisoft will be first in line. The next Assassin's Creed will be like standard edition $100, and I know there's gonna be a lot of companies that do that. So I don't know. Again, I think that as long as Nintendo provides enough content for that price tag, sure. I think that maybe it would have gone over a bit better if there was maybe like, here's the $60 edition that comes with less content. But also, I know Nintendo is a lot like Apple, whereas they won't sell a product piecemeal like that. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna pay the premium, or you're not going to get it.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I actually want to continue down this rabbit hole, because I could be on this for a little while, but I do want to go back and forth with you on this. So here's some other things I'd like to put out there. Yes. The development costs and the amount of workers on games.
Yes.
Nintendo has been known to be vastly understaffed compared to many other developers, like Sony, Microsoft, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
When it comes to that, and also the cost of developing their games has been known to be way lower. So my question here would be, how, aside from just you and me having a value, by the supposed amount of content the game has, how would you justify that $80 price tag for, say, a game that was worked on for 2 years? Let's just say 2 years. I know it's not actually 2 years, but I'm just going hypothetically speaking.
Can I give it a thought in really quick before?
Yes, go for it. Go for it.
here's my thought with Nintendo's practices versus the other companies. So
Go for it.
Nintendo is known for treating their employees very well.
Yes.
Paying them reasonably well.
Yes.
Avoiding serious crunch time.
Correct. Agreed.
And and just generally being like really good in the industry. And I know too, even, you know, it came up, I think conversationally last week, you know, offline, you know, about like CEOs. Like, even if you remember when like the 3DS launch tanked, Iwata's nope, we're not going to lay anyone off. I'm going to take the hit for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And their CEOs, like in Japan, generally aren't known for like 7-digit, like, you know, take home pay. Like they're generally pretty reasonably well paid. My thought is probably Nintendo at this more from, you know, they start early, they sit on it, they polish it, and generally most of their stuff comes out really well, you know, by the time it gets out. You know, as much shit as we want to give, you know, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for, you know, their stuttery frame rates from time to time, those games like ran really fucking well. Like, not a lot of like serious bugs, like nothing that's going to be like game breaking, really. Like, it's not like a Bethesda game. I think Nintendo justifies their price in that sense with how they're treating their employees. Like, you know, it's really like they're not rushing the game out the gate, you know, a lot of times. And I think that's part of the reason probably why it is a little bit more expensive. Mario Kart's a game that they probably, I know you said 2 years, but Nintendo, I imagine, probably has worked on this for 3-4 years.
I mean, I would be even conservative and say like 4 or 5.
So my thing is I agree with Mike with that in that sense, because it's like, how long was what's his name? Fucking oh my god. How long was Miyamoto saying Pikmin 4 was done?
Oh yeah.
Like years.
Yeah.
You know? So I think I do think, for better or for worse, right? Because I can't remember the last time. I mean, obviously we've had Nintendo games launch with like some stuttering issues, like you just said. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom both had like some stuttering issues. Which you can fix it for the price of $10 now on the new system if you want to play a launch game from 7 years ago.
That is true. But it also is like 4K 60, like
for sure,
legitimately, and that's really impressive.
But so what I'm saying is I agree with what Mike is saying, is that the dev time definitely feels a little bit more drawn out than your typical game. I mean, for a while there, Assassin's Creed turnaround was like 1 year, 2 years. Call of Duty was until they got their support studios. You know what I mean? And you sorely got a product that was worth the money that you gave them. So I would say that for sure justifies the price. Also, what I would say is you're getting games now for the Switch 2 that are of the highest fidelity that Nintendo's ever pumped out. Because let's be real. Let's be so real. Going between the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U, and even the Switch in some respect, the Switch was a big jump from that trifecta.
Yeah.
But those 3 game systems pretty much stayed pretty consistent with how they looked. I don't think GameCube to Wii U was a giant technical jump, because it really wasn't.
No, I don't think so either.
And then from Wii U to Switch, it was a bit better. Obviously, there was noticeable improvements with a lot of games from Wii U, because a lot of the games...
There was also steps back. I think there were also steps back.
Yeah. No, for sure. So I think what you have to take into consideration too is they're creating games at a much higher fidelity now, and they're really trying to get these things, you know, fine-tune running the best that they can.
Yeah.
Which is a long process, especially when you're working with custom hardware.
They are trying to compete on a graphical sense in some degree, which they really have not for generations.
Yes.
Speaking of graphical sense, I want to say something, right? And this has been getting me crucified online, but I firmly stand by this.
Okay.
I think in some respect the Switch 2 looks better than the Xbox Series X and PS5.
No, it does.
And the reasoning for that is FSR is a blurry fucking mess that leaves so much noise, and DLSS, which is what is running on the Switch 2, is so much sharper and clearer, and it looks so much better. I don't care if you're running at 30 FPS. If you have a picture that fucking sharp and that fucking nice looking, that's impressive. That's the main thing.
If you were in front of me right now, I would shake your hand because if I need to make this known right now that if Radeon Graphics has one hater, it's me, and if Radeon Graphics has no haters, I'm dead. They're fucking AMD Radeon Graphics have not done one good thing for anybody.
Okay,
I'm gonna stop using them.
I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna stop you there for 1 second. I will, being like deep into computers with everything, I will disagree with you in some respect. Now, if you are just using flat, straight up native resolution, and you have something like the 9070 XT that is just released,
yeah,
or if you are using something like just 1080p high settings, native resolution with like 7700, 7700 XT, that sort of deal, you are in some respect, yet again, getting a better product because you'll have higher VRAM than you would on NVIDIA cards because a lot of NVIDIA cards decide to go with lower VRAM and as such kind of fuck over the customer, whereas cheaper AMD cards, you can get a higher resolution and frame rate natively than some of the NVIDIA cards because they gimp themselves when it comes to VRAM. And I think VRAM is where AMD is actually a standout when it comes to graphics. And I think VRAM is very important when you want to play at higher resolutions.
That's fine, but they're not standing up, and as you just said, they're not standing up to the software. Because DLSS is so much better than FSR, and actually, what's funny is there's been comparison shots because obviously this is something that I pay attention to for fighting games. Street Fighter 6 on the Switch 2 is looking to be the best version.
Yes, it actually has better input latency, which is impressive to me. I'm guessing, and I'm wondering if since it is NVIDIA architecture, I'm wondering if they're using oh god, what do they call it? NVIDIA Reflex. I wonder if it's baked into it, because if so, that would give you better input latency.
Yeah.
So that might be what's going on there. I don't know for sure though. I'm very impressed by the hardware, I'm excited for it. I think there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to the hardware because there's so much new stuff going on here that's like really exciting. Honestly, even just from like a techie standpoint, it's so exciting.
But to get back to your original question, after a week of digesting it and after not being fooled by Jeff Keighley's tweets, I do honestly solidly believe that Mario Kart is worth the $80 price tag.
Okay.
Again, we do need to know how much content is in there once we get our hands on the game. The Direct won't show us anything that they don't want us to see because that's marketing, baby.
You gotta drop a hypothetical on you. Gotta drop a hypothetical.
I was gonna say, just real quick, if the game comes out and it doesn't stand up to the price tag, I'll admit it on here that I was wrong for sure. But I think with all the information that I have now, and with everything we know about development and everything else with Nintendo, like I am more so on the side of it being appropriately priced.
Okay, gotta drop the hypothetical now, right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so we just talked about how kind of like the DLC is like baked in. That's why it's such a big game. That's why it's $80. What if in 6 months they release a DLC pack? Then what will your take be? Because here's the thing. What if you do get enough content for that $80, but they also release a DLC pack that then in theory proves that there was more content, but it possibly was cut out to be resold to you? Then how do you feel?
I will say I don't believe that would happen. Because I feel like
it's hypothetical. That's why it's hypothetical.
Because I feel like Nintendo, even like when they had the DLC for Zelda, I think it was like a year or so after the game came out. Then I will say, they definitely held some shit back, and not worth the $80.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because I always hated when games like 6 months after launch were like giant DLC drop, and I'm like,
I do too. It's so obnoxious.
Like,
it's so
fucking
bad.
Delay it 6 months and just pack it in, please. I beg of you.
Yeah.
So for sure, I will eat my hat if that is the case too. I really don't think that will be though.
I don't either, but I just want to have it.
Track record.
I just want to have it recorded in case it does happen. So
now,
that
here's the other thing is too. Here's the other thing is too. This argument I'm having specifically is for Mario Kart.
Yes.
If we get to the end of the year and they charge $80 for Metroid, or if they're going to try and charge $80 for the next Zelda game, then that might be a different conversation. But I'm saying for this game in particular, because I think they're already charging, I want to say $70 and $80 respectively for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild for the Switch 2 edition.
Yes, you're correct.
Which I think is atrocious.
Well, we talked about it last week, though. It's because they're taking the base cost of the game, and then it also includes the $10 upgrade fee.
Correct, but
you can math out how they got there.
My problem is
the Switch price. Yeah.
My problem is, why is a game that is 7 years old still $60?
Thank you. That is my problem as well. Because if you're gonna re-release it, then I guess upgrade it or whatever in some fashion that's different from just up-resing and then also having a higher frame rate. I think that's when you need to look at things, because you have to look at things like some of the PlayStation 5 titles, for instance, that had just just like a patch thrown in that didn't cost $10, which was happening at the beginning of the PlayStation 5 generation. No longer is that happening. But I do think that needs to be something you have to look at as well when you think about it.
I do want to say I was on the record being a hater of that too. I think that's ridiculous. And the example that I've given my friends, I was like, hey, if I have a really shitty computer, right, that can barely run a game, but it runs, and then I get a newer computer that runs things like bleeding edge, I don't have to pay a price difference for those two for that same game between the two systems. I just get the better frame rate, resolution, and everything that comes along with having better hardware.
Can I correct you?
Sure.
So there are many games releasing now on Steam and on PC.
That pisses me off. Don't piss me off with this, Brandon.
That actually have specifically a $10 upgrade.
That's insane.
Required for you to purchase in order to unlock the extra graphical fidelity.
That is.
So, for instance, now,
there's a word I want to use, but I can't.
Yeah. For instance, right now, one of the ones that come to mind is again our old pal Sony with Horizon Zero Dawn's $10 upgrade that is on Steam at this moment in time, right now, and it will be the same in the next week or two with Days Gone. So there's several games.
That's Sony.
Yes.
That's Sony though.
There are other games that have done it, but I do not remember them off the top of my head right now. But I do know that they exist.
But what I'm saying, for the most part,
those
right,
are two that stand out to me, though.
For the most part, you get a better computer. You can just install those games, and it's nicer.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a hater on that specific thing. I think that with Kirby and Mario Party, right? I can kind of justify it because you're getting DLC.
That makes sense because it's DLC. It's literally taking the price of these games and just tacking on the DLC. And those two don't bother me. I think the problem is people are seeing it with the tacked on price of the DLC and just thinking, why am I paying again for this game? And I think if we went with the $60 price point and then also been like, by the way, there's DLC coming, then here's $20 for the DLC, I think it would have went over a shit ton better.
But I think it sucks for. Okay.
Oh, finish your thought, Nick.
I was just saying, I think it sucks for people that you have to spend $10 to get the game to look prettier on your new system. It's okay in some respect because if you have NSO, which if you don't, then I'm confused. Because with NSO, you get those
only
two things for free.
Only two so far. Only with the two Zelda games. The others have not been confirmed.
Yes. Those two upgrades are, which I would imagine maybe Metroid might be added to that later. But so far, yes, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. If you have NSO, you get those two things for free as a part of your membership.
But did they take away your high fidelity if you're?
Yes. I mean, you lose the DLCs that it includes. So I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't lose that. Yeah. But I do think it does kind of suck shit that when PlayStation was doing it and Xbox was doing it for when they had their 3 games, and now that Switch is doing it. I think it sucks shit that you can't just because the thing is, there's other games that will just run better on the Switch 2 day one, and you don't have to pay for that. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet will just run better. Captain Toad will just run better. So
Mario Odyssey will just run better.
To me, I feel like all the people at Nintendo, this is one of the rarer times I will say Nintendo is being money hungry. I do think that they were sitting around the table like, yo, these fucking nerds love Zelda, bro. You know what I mean? Like we can fund the next Zelda game off this shit alone. And they're not wrong, but it kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like dangling a steak in front of my dog. Like, of course they're gonna fucking go for it. Mm-hmm. But it sucks shit that you're charging money for these people who are obviously very dedicated fans of you, and I know that doesn't matter to $1 billion corporation. Yeah, you're just a number to them. But it sucks shit because it's very obvious that there's some games that they're like, we won't charge you more money because we know not as many people like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as they did Tears of the Kingdom. So if we know we can squeeze just a little bit more out of you, because I know you're going to want to play this game with slightly better resolution and better frame rate, and we're going to fix that one part in the forest that ran like shit, you're good to go.
I mean, it looked really good. I watched the video.
Don't get me wrong, it does. But I feel like some people have gotten mad at me because, like, I am a known, obviously, Zelda hater. I don't really like any of the Zelda games. But, like, I feel like when I shit talk that game has a $10 upcharge for better resolution, they take it as me attacking the game, and I'm like, no, I'm attacking Nintendo. I want you to have a better experience with no monetary exchange happening. You should be able to play that game.
Okay, now I need to interject now.
Okay,
go for it.
Since neither of you really play Zelda games anyways. The fans that you speak of that are so into Zelda, almost every single one of them probably has NSO. Like, most of them are not going to actually end up paying for that upgrade.
Actually, a lot will, so they don't have to just stay on NSO because they want to support their favorite game franchise. That's my take on that.
I mean, I've debated on doing it too, especially too. Now that I've had experience with how NSO stuff works, like with those expansions and like what it's like when I'm not home. It is kind of annoying to have to like check it, every 7 days or whatever, just to have like the online to be like, okay, it's still valid. Honestly, most of the people who have who are going to be most interested in it, they're going to be the ones who already have NSO. So there might be some reason to upgrade it if you're traveling, but But I think most people that are really the hardcore fans, not necessarily going to be affected by this in any significant way.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Upgrade stuff too. So you get that as well. There is that extra bonus there. Like, it's not like it's anything mind-boggling, but it's kind of nice to have something help navigate around that like massive world. And the second point, which I always kind of think about when we talk about Nintendo's price points, and I think it's something that's neglected a little bit, even with this group, and I feel like actually Brandon reaps the benefits of this more than anyone, is that, yes, Nintendo very rarely drops the prices of the games. However, that also means the resale values are very much better than most other games.
You're right. I absolutely reap the benefits of this. You can go and buy
a used copy of Breath of the Wild. Like, used copies of Breath of the Wild right now on eBay are like $30+. Yeah. Like, that's insane for a 7-year-old game.
So I agree. I just wish that they maybe had sales more often, or sales that like were good.
So, I think
also Pokemon did outsell Tears of the Kingdom. So
I think they're doing better, Nick. I think we need to like approach this in a fair position, because if you think about it, right, we see at least once to 3 times a year like their major titles go on sale for $40 or below. In fact, just recently we had things like Tears of the Kingdom was $30 brand new at Walmart and stuff like that. So I think it's something. I think they are getting a lot more consistent than they used to be, just like Sony did and just like Microsoft did. I just think they're still behind the times, and they still value that digital purchase at a very high price point, to where they won't bring it down as much as you would expect them to bring it down. But I do think there are still some instances where saying, oh, their games never go on sale is just now an outright lie. I don't think that's true.
Like I told you, it has been at least 3 years since I paid full price for a Switch game, like at launch, like the day that it comes out.
So you've been taking advantage of the voucher program, right?
Yes.
So and that brought, like, I paid $50 for Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's like,
I did too.
Yeah, it's not like Nintendo, like, you like to be like, oh, they never drop prices, but they generally have like some kind of long running things. There's also the gold point system that they had that is ending with the Switch too.
But other systems have that sort of thing as well. Like PlayStation Stars exists, and so does Microsoft's.
I would say I would like if there whatever replaces the coin system. I think it is kind of shitty that the points you earn expire. Like, I feel like you should just, if you're telling me that the game is the same, like, if the game is the same price,
Xbox does it too.
What's that?
Xbox and PlayStation do that too, but they actually like expire. Oh, I agree. I just wanted to say it's not just a Nintendo thing. That's all I wanted to say about that.
No, for sure. And I know that obviously, like, that definitely helps when, like, you're buying things completely digital. I don't do that. But no, I just, that's my thing. And you do raise a good point, is that, like, yeah, they do have really good resale value. Because I will say, like, whenever I go to trade, like, I went not too long ago to trade some games in to get Mario Party. And, like, there were so many games that I had that are, like, good games. Like, not like like I was trading in, like, I had a physical copy of The Last of Us I didn't need anymore because I have it on my PC and like things of that nature. And still, like, not really getting a lot for them. And I'm like, I know they're going to sell that game because it's The Last of Us, especially with everything, surrounding it. So yeah, for sure. Like, when you trade in a copy of, like, Zelda or Pokemon or something like that, you're going to get a decent amount of money back for it because, brand new, it's still $60, $70. So
yeah, next generation, when that game's not even being made anymore, like the Pokemon games, you'll get even more. Like, you could, if you hold on to that game for a generation, it's possible you may actually end up getting more than you bought it for.
I mean, I have a sealed copy of the Mario All-Star Collection that I've seen as high as like $150.
I recently, leading up to the Switch 2 release, I have sold 14 GameCube games and made $700.
I mean, I can definitely see that.
and if those were PlayStation games, very unlikely that would have been the case. Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, that's my kind of take on it. A lot of people give shit about them not giving sales, but it does really help with the resale value.
There's another side of that, though, because GameCube was just announced for Nintendo Switch 2. Some of the really expensive games in the, like, retro scene have come down a lot in price, which is very good for people that actually want to have a physical copy. So, for instance, the Fire Emblem GameCube game dropped from like $400, $500 down to like $250, and that's a really good drop. Like, for anyone that actually wants to own that game.
I was also just kind of side note on that too. I kind of just remotely crossed my mind last week after we talked about. There's a very real chance that we'll be able to play Eternal Darkness on the Switch too.
Oh my god, that would be so cool!
It's like a very reasonable chance. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
and lots of other good stuff. Like, there's a lot of great GameCube games that we've not seen anything of in years.
I will say, I think the thing that I'm most excited for with the Switch 2 is the GameCube feature for NSO. Just because, first of all, GameCube is just like probably my favorite Nintendo console of all time. But there's so many hidden gems in that library that I feel like not a lot of people got to play. One, now because they're just atrociously expensive. Like,
TB Robo was in that lineup that we saw.
TB Robo was in there. Gale of Darkness was in there. Luigi's Mansion was like. There's so many good games that are locked away on that system, and like, I mean, Brandon, if you've gone to local cons, you've seen it. They price these things so ridiculously.
These things are priced massively. Like, GameCube right now is like gold. It's actually nuts. The prices for GameCube games. Like, I sold like Mario Sunshine for like $62.
Yeah.
Like, literally 5 days ago. That's insane.
And that's also considering like that is available on the Switch, or at least to some degree.
Yeah.
So,
that honestly, I'm super pumped for that. But did you guys want to talk more about GameCube? Because there was one game that I specifically wanted to touch on that we got like next to no
information on. Absolutely.
the game that I'm currently okay. So obviously, Metroid Prime 4 is a thing. Yes. I will not believe it is a thing until it is in my hands.
Yeah, that's fair.
So other than Metroid Prime 4, the one game that they announced that I'm the most excited for is Kirby Air Riders.
Oh my god. That is awesome. Yeah, but I think there's something also to talk about there. We're getting two racing games from Nintendo in the same year.
No, because Brandon, just give if that game launches with City Trial.
Oh no, I got nothing against it. I actually love Kirby Air Riders. Yeah. I love Kirby's Air Ride, but Kirby's
Air
Riders.
It is a wild. I feel like,
but I think competing with two big like mascots in the same year is kind of wild. That's kind of insane to do.
That is crazy, considering one, this is like Sakurai's been making this game, and two, like you said, like you're launching your two biggest racing games concurrent, like in the same year.
If you want to count the F-Zero release on the GameCube,
like let's think about this real quick, right? So the Switch launches June 5th, right?
Yes. I mean, supposedly.
Well, yeah. The Switch will launch June
everywhere
5th.
in the world, maybe except for here, for sure. But,
we'll launch with for
slapped in the face too.
Yeah, we'll launch on June 5th, possibly for an amount of money for sure. So, and that's when Mario Kart.
We're gonna talk
launches.
about that in a bit. Just saying.
Yeah, so that's when the Mario Kart launches. So between June and December, in a 6-month window, we are getting Donkey Kong, Kirby Air Riders, Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
Right? So,
Mario Kart. You left that up.
No, I said Mario Kart Day of.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Sorry, my bad.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not even like it's coming out like, because remember, the Switch 1 launch, I think it was like March of 2017, right? That was the beginning of the year. And then if you had like another racing game launching later on, okay, cool. This is a 6-month window.
We actually got more things announced recently.
Possibly,
we got the spiritual successor to Snipper Clips also coming.
Yeah. Possibly shorter though. Like Kirby could launch in like September, which is 3 months away from a racing game. You know what I mean? So like that's crazy to me that game is launching this year.
Yeah.
If we have both of those games in our hands this year, I will actually be very shocked.
Yeah,
I said the same thing to Brandon. I was like, I can't believe Kirby Air Riders. I'm like, not that I know a lot of people like the game, but it's so wild to me that they're gonna have two mascot racers in the same year.
Yeah,
like which Kirby means, Air Riders seems like something they would sit on and hold till next year.
Which means they have to be either very like they're putting their balls in a wheelbarrow, like confident, or these games are so succinctly different from each other that that Nintendo doesn't believe they'll be eating each other's lunch.
There could be a third option too.
Which is that?
They have things that are so much better than them coming down the pipeline very, very soon, to the point where they need to get these out there because these are their lower end titles.
Yeah,
I mean, true. They have to launch Star Fox and F-Zero next year,
so they want this game out the fucking door.
Yeah, they need it out. So yeah, I mean, like, definitely a ballsy move because that's a 6-month window where you're releasing 3 bangers.
It's kind of insane when you think about it.
Obviously we didn't get a lot for that. A lot of people were thinking that trailer was a Smash announcement because the Kirby model looks very much like the Smash Kirby model, which also at the same time kind of a goofy thing to say because Kirby is just unless you're going off of like graphical fidelity. I'm like Kirby has been the same since they made him pink. You know what I mean? Like that's just Kirby. That to me anyway. I don't know. There might be some like Kirby fanatic who's like, no, actually the Brawl model had this. I'm like, sure, nerd. I don't know.
The Brawl model had 30,000 polygons.
Yeah, like sure.
Now
I
the new one has 47,000.
Yeah, but otherwise, I'm like, yeah, that's Kirby. Like I couldn't tell you. Unless it was like Pixel Kirby versus 3D Kirby, I could not tell you the genealogy of the character model.
Yeah. The only thing I know is that he looks more angry. No, is it more angry in America and less
more angry in America?
Less angry in Japan? That's the only thing I know. It's like he's very cutesy in Japan, and then like he's very serious on the box art in America. Like Shadow.
So that trailer was really cool. And then there was a couple of things. So you guys were obviously watching the Direct live, I assume?
Yes. I also followed a shit ton of news. So
there was a game that was announced that nobody could see during the direct because the direct glitched out for a bit, and I didn't learn about it. I didn't learn about it till today because I got a notification from YouTube that the trailer had dropped. Did not know Enter the Gungeon 2 was announced.
Yeah, I heard it, but I couldn't watch it, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
I was telling you about.
Remember, I told you.
Trailer right there.
Yeah.
Enter the Gungeon is fantastic. I love that game.
It is, and it's got like a new style, like 3D top down instead of it's cool. I like it.
Hades 2 will launch first on consoles on the Switch.
First on the Switch too. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Which again, loved Hades, so I will be getting
Hades 2 is a great game. Hades 2 is a great game. I've been playing it for a year.
I was gonna wait till the full version launch to play. I just trust that they're gonna make a great game, so I'm just gonna let you know.
That's completely understandable. It's just when I saw that it launched at $30 and it was like, and like they announced it and then they released it the same day, I was like, where's my wallet?
We're also getting what I assume is a complete version of Deltarune. I don't think he's making more than 4 chapters.
So that says on the page when you go to like look at the purchase options that if you purchase the $25 chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, all future chapters will be free.
God damn it! So there's more.
There's more.
Dude, Brandon, I want you to step back. So hold on, let me do a Google real quick. Right?
Yeah.
Delta. Unless you know, when did Deltarune Chapter 1 launch?
2021, maybe.
Okay. So Brandon, I want you to go back. Oh no, I'm wrong. 2018.
I was gonna say, I thought it was even before. I thought 2021's would be my guess, maybe for chapter 2.
Yeah, I think I was getting confused.
2018 was chapter 1. 2021 was chapter 2. So you figure 2018 we're fresh off of Undertale, right?
Undertale, yeah. Which was
and Deltarune Chapter 1 launches in 2018, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I played chapter 1 like halfway through, and I was like, let me just wait till this game is done, and I'll play the whole thing when it's done. It's been almost fucking 10 years.
Yeah, that's how I've been
taking a very long time.
Exact same thing.
So I'm just gonna have to play it and then just play it piecemeal when the chapters come out.
So while we're talking about Deltarune, I feel like we need to talk about the flip side of the coin, where we got 2 seconds and half of a screenshot of Silksong shown, and they were just like, "Yep, it's coming out still," and everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
I don't believe you.
Today they also said it's coming to both Switch and Switch 2. By the way.
Yeah.
So Brandon,
2025.
I'm on the website for Deltarune right now.
Yeah.
It says, so it's giving you all the details, right? So it's $25 for the 4 chapters. Also, the soundtrack on Steam will cost whatever. Blah 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 blah. And if you buy the soundtrack on Steam, every time a chapter is added, you'll get those tracks too. So it's not like it's just every time. So how many chapters are we fucking getting, Toby? How many are we getting?
So it says here, try chapter 1 and 2 for free now. Chapters 3 through 5 are now in development and will someday be available as a paid release, which means we know for sure we have chapters 1 through 4 on the cartridge of Deltarune. So that means at least one more chapter afterwards.
Yeah. So I'm gonna buy it on the Switch too, honestly, and play 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Just because like I said, I mean, the year Undertale came out, I think we all unanimously said that Undertale was our game of the year when that came out.
Absolutely.
Deltarune, I want to play more of because I feel like if I wait any longer, it's going to be lost on me. So I'm just going to pull the trigger and play the first 4 chapters and then just have to follow along with everybody else.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that is going to be what I end up doing as well. Let me talk about some more things that we saw. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, which has new content and new cutscenes on the Switch 2, and it's currently only a Switch 2 exclusive. Okay, you know.
Hell yeah.
What the fuck? Sorry. There's a lot of things. We saw Daemon X Machina sequel.
We did, which seems very soon. Didn't that just launch not too long ago?
No, I feel like that at the very least was a 2020 release.
Really?
Yeah.
5 years ago, Brandon?
Daemon X Machina. It came out the same year as Astral Chain.
2019.
Wow, what the fuck?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, does it?
What the fuck?
Yeah. You think that's crazy? It released 2020 on Steam. So that means even if we didn't take the 2019 release date, it's still been 5 years.
That's I honestly, Brandon, I would have said that was like 2022 game.
I feel like it is too, because I think I know you don't fuck with Epic Games really, but I know they gave it for free during one of their game weeks.
Wow.
And I own it from that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, and looking at that, I was thinking, how can we use the dual mouse controls with this mech game? I really want dual mouse controls with a mech game.
Cool.
I had a few other thoughts about the system and the way everything's been presented. Yeah. Doug Bowser pulled a bit of a Don Matrick.
He did. No, he for sure did.
Yeah, so essentially he said, I know a lot of people would like to get their hands on a Switch 2, and it might be too expensive for some people, and for those people, the Switch 1 will still be in production, and we will be making and supporting that system still.
Wild statement from my boy. And then somebody came online, they're like, well, he used to work for EA, and they're like, that makes so much sense.
It does make so much sense. That's what I thought too. They were like, he used to work for EA. And it's like, oh, okay, checks out.
No, that's a wild statement that he's like, oh, it's too expensive. Whatever, broke boy. We still got the Switch 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we will still be selling for full price, by the way. We'll not be getting a system price cut. I did think it was a little odd. I don't know if you guys caught this, but like the week of, I want to say, or the week before the Switch 2 Direct, they just dropped a new bundle for the Switch 1.
I didn't see that. That is weird.
I think I did know about that, but I was just like,
the Mario. There's like a Mario Bros. Wonder bundle, I think it is.
Oh yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, Mario Brothers Wonder. It's a Switch OLED bundle, which has it just comes with the game and online trial. But I was like, that's a really weird thing for you to drop right now, considering you have a new console launching. I mean, at that time, I assume this year. Now we know you dropped that a week ago with a new console launching in 2 months. All right, sure, cool, fantastic, actually. And it's $350, and they put in parentheses added value of $67.98 because it comes with Mario Brothers Wonder, and 3 months of NSO.
Okay.
So yeah, there was that. But yeah, no, Doug Bowser saying that is crazy and wild, because up until that point, I was like, you know what? I think the Switch 2 is appropriately priced.
Mm-hmm.
And
him saying that, it was like, oh, okay,
maybe... I'm like, actually, you know what? Fuck you. It should be $200, Doug. Suck my dick.
Yeah, I was thinking like, Japan's only paying $350. Fuck you. It should only be $400 for us. Yeah. Fuck you.
Actually, you know what, Doug? Suck a dick. I was going to bat for you, and now,
He disappeared for 6 years after he appeared for the first time, and then the first thing he says in a live interview is, what's the matter, broke boy?
Yeah.
Like, what?
I know y'all got money. I see you guys buying Fortnite skins, so don't lie to me.
He essentially pulled what, don't you have phones? Like, he did, career assassination 101 immediately when he did an interview.
Because that was one of the other things I wanted to touch on was the actual price of the console.
Yes,
how did you guys
of the console?
Yeah. So, barring any sort of deep discussion of things that are over this podcast's head, the launch is still the same day. The June, as of right now, as of this recording, the launch is still June 5th, with both United States and Canada's pre-orders being delayed to we don't know. Yeah. If you want to look into it a little bit more, the Nintendo website where you signed up for your intent to purchase, their pre-order date was labeled as May.
Yeah.
Some day in May. I forget what day it was.
May 8th. Yeah. It was pretty early in the month.
So that might be the new pre-order date. I think it's kind of weird to say you're not doing pre-orders yet for a variety of reasons. Without changing the release date, mainly because it's like, well, what's it matter if you're not changing the release date? And if you're not changing the price,
well,
even if you are changing the price, you just cancel those pre-orders like you did for Metroid Prime 4 like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So I think, at least to my understanding, if you do in-store pre-orders and you have given like money for a physical good, such as what GameStop or Walmart or Target or whatever could be doing, you are guaranteed to pay that price. So
GameStop did not do that when I worked there. So if
Yeah.
that is true, that is a new thing.
okay,
So
that's
I think
what I heard. I don't have
I think
any
pre-order price.
full information. It's just like what I
Yes.
read, at least in some places, is that
So all
when
I
it comes
know
to pre-order pricing, when you pay that price, that is your guaranteed price for payment of the item.
What I will
That
say
is
that
what
I
I've heard.
know is like places like, I don't know if brick and mortar stores do this.
Mhm.
I know Amazon. I've gotten like the silliest refunds from them for like pre-order price guarantee. Whereas
Mhm.
like if I pre-ordered a game for $60 and they on launch day sold it for like $59.98, they'd give me like the 2 cents back.
Yeah, see,
I
that's
know-
kind of what I'm trying to talk about. Like,
I
I
know
feel
pre-order price guarantee works in the favor of the consumer in that sense. Whereas like
yes,
if you bought a game and like they'll refund you, or even I think too, like even if you buy something from Amazon in like a couple day period, it goes on sale for a deeper price that will refund you.
Yes.
I think alternatively, if you pre-order something and things like that change, they either will outright just cancel the pre-order and refund you your money, or not even, because I know like certain stores won't pull your money until the thing is released. I think Best Buy is one of those stores.
Amazon's one of those stores. They don't pull
Or
your money
like,
until it's shipping.
like every time Prime 4 was like talked about, cheap ass gamer would post the Amazon link to the $60 price tag for Prime 4 for the Switch, and like I said a few months ago, like all those pre-orders were canceled.
Interesting, because we were talking about pre-order guarantee, and I thought that was part of it. So
I think what that means is that Nintendo could no longer guarantee the price of that game at $60. So I think what we might see is that game either being $70/$80 respectively on Switch and Switch 2 with a $10 upgrade charge, or flat out both $70 across the board. Which is why they canceled those pre-orders, because because they didn't announce the release date for Prime 4 yet.
Nope.
They didn't announce the price for Prime 4 yet.
Yep.
And again, it's weird that Nintendo is pretty loosey-goosey with their release dates. Like they'll tell you like, hey, like this is coming in this time period,
and they'll
obviously
be like,
yeah. Obviously, Prime 4 is a special case, right? Because that got announced almost a decade ago now. But I do think it's weird that we don't know. We know that this game is coming out within the next 6 months, supposedly.
Yes.
We don't know the price or when. So I think that being canceled tells us, hey, chances are this game is not going to be $60. Because if it was, then Nintendo would have to honor that $60 price tag, and they don't want to do that. So I think in that case, Brandon, correct. But my thing is like, if the release date's not changing, then why not take pre-orders and just cancel them if need be?
So I think the US and Canada are going to have their Switch 2s delayed. I think that's going to happen. I hope it's not, but I think that the console will be delayed here.
Yeah.
Because of everything that's going on. I think that the trade-off is that possibly, if the delay happens, it'll remain the same price. That's what I think might end up happening. Don't know. Still waiting and seeing at this point. Otherwise, I do think it will go up to maximum. And I know this doesn't factor in what's actually going on and isn't the correct price when you math the math. However, I do think the maximum that Nintendo would be willing to let this go for is $600 in the States.
I agree.
Because I think if they were to attempt to do it any higher than that, people would look at things like an Xbox Series X, a PlayStation 5, compare the two, and be like, no, this is silly. I'm not doing this.
Well, here's what they're going to do, Brandon.
Obviously, some diehards would buy it still.
Let me tee this up for you. Here's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay? It's May of this year.
Yeah.
We're a month away from the Switch 2.
Yes.
The Mario Kart bundle will be a price of $650.
Yeah, I think this is what's going to happen.
The base Switch, the Doug Bowser or whoever is going to come out in the video, just going to walk out and be like, listen, the base Switch is $600 now. However, remember that manual we were going to charge you $10 for? It's packing now.
So, interesting.
They're gonna pat themselves on the back like, yeah, we did it.
So glad you finally brought that up. I watched a lot of content on that game. Very surprised at what Nintendo showed versus what I've seen off screen. So, some interesting points about that experience thing. Do I think it's worth $10? I don't know. However, I know that the way Nintendo showed that off was the worst way imaginable because it is essentially a lot of minigame compilations and a lot of different things that are very interesting to see that shows off the tech. It is basically like 1-2 Switch and WarioWare, but in the style of something like Mario Paint.
Okay.
And there's like a trophy system built into the game where you go around to kiosks, and you were talking about like reading the manual. There's a reason for that, and it's because they have like quizzes that involve then you interacting with the different parts of the controller and the system itself to answer quizzes. Sure. And to like do like mini games and stuff like that have to do with what you've been taught and stuff. And it has like a very, very weird feeling to it, but some of the mini games that they showed were rather interesting. I don't know if they are like $10 interesting, but I do know that from the looks of it, there were like 60 plus different kinds of mini games.
That's
so
cool.
There's a lot more to it than. Yeah, I agree. But I am also saying it is a lot more than just a manual. That's all I was trying to say.
For sure.
I don't disagree that it should be a pack-in.
Yeah, because I mean, fucking Astrobot was the original Astrobot for the PS5 is free.
Is still one of the best PlayStation 5 games.
And it was a Game of the Year contender, and the just won BAFTA Game of the Year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not that this game was going to do that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just so, it's so weird.
I agree.
The thought process.
Just a little bit of misconception that I needed to free up because you mentioned it was just like a manual, and I know you're being like tongue in cheek and whatnot, but I needed to like inform people that there is more to it than just that. I don't think that makes it worth $10, but there is definitely more to it than just going around and reading kiosks.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing to keep in mind with the prices stuff too is like, you know, even if they do end up getting hit hard with the tariffs, they're not going to be the only ones. Like,
this is true.
We could see theoretically
the only ones with a new console.
Huh?
They are the only ones.
They are the only ones with a new console. Although it will absolutely decimate any chance PS5 Pro has of doing anything. Because that console probably will cost $1,000. At least.
I mean, yeah. I think what's getting lost in the price of the Switch is that people don't seem to be thinking about the prices of the Series X and the PS5, which have both. I know the PS5 for sure has gotten price increases outside of the country.
Yes.
I don't know about the Xbox, just because they don't sell as it is outside of America.
No, but what Microsoft did to offset that and actually raise the price is the 2 terabyte models are pretty much the only ones you find in store now, which is then a higher price version of the console.
So I am shocked that we haven't seen anything concrete yet. I feel like we will, if this tariff trade war continues to go on. I would fully expect to see the prices of PS5s and Xboxes raising dramatically.
They've already stated that they're going to have to. Like that's a thing that's already been stated by like interviews and stuff. But they've never like been like, "Hey guys, you're about to pay $800 for an Xbox Series X."
I would never tell
they're
anybody.
Gonna wait for those.
It'd be career suicide.
Yeah,
they're gonna wait for the supplies to empty out before they even attempt to consider anything.
And I think
they will literally have 0 systems in the warehouse before they make a price.
Switch 2s do we already have in the United States? I think that's also something to keep in mind.
Here's what they're gonna do, right?
Yeah.
Christmas time. It's gonna be like September, November.
Yeah.
So I'll say late August, early September. Clip this if you want.
Yeah.
They're gonna raise the price of the PS5s and the Xboxes right before the holidays.
Yep. But like I was just saying, you know, we're talking about how you were saying they're going to wait for their supplies they currently have in the US to dry up. Is Nintendo going to do that also, and did they already have the Switch here? That's what I want to know.
Well, we know that they already have thousands of systems here. Like, that is fact. But the problem that they run into, like, they are really in like a rock and a hard place kind of situation. Because yes, they could go and launch the system at the announced price on the announced day and let that go. But the problem is, if they do that in 2 months and then the tariffs are still there, then you run into a problem where it's like you get through that initial batch, probably the same day, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, everyone else wants it out $650. So yeah, it'll really fuck them over. There's no and then where do you draw the line? Do you know who's fucked over? Who are you going to fuck over? Which customer are you going to fuck over? My guess is they'll probably, if they have to, they'll probably find like a middle ground and try to be like, well, we have a lot that were imported here, like at what we expected to be a $450 price tag. And now we have a bunch here that we need to sell for more than that. Maybe we'll split the difference and hope that they last a little longer and try to hold off that price increase as long as we can, but not a great position. Like literally hours after that direct have this tariffs announced. Like that's basically like what happened with them with Advance Wars, when they're like Advance Wars and then it's like 9/11 like the same day.
It was very unfortunate, like the same day the Switch 2 like stuff was shown off and like all the pricing and stuff came out later on. And then it was like a few hours later like oops, tariffs. Which I think that's probably why that wasn't included in the original direct video. I think that was very intentional, and then somehow the prices of things, at least for the consoles and stuff, slowly started rolling out. But yeah, I agree. I think they've talked about already that they have a fair amount of stock here. Whether or not, like, I feel like right now the conversation internally is probably like, hey, do we raise the price and fuck people over? Because here's the other thing is too, like with the way these tariffs have gone with delays and everything like that, what's gonna happen is like Nintendo's gonna come out, raise the price, and then like that day later on they'll be like, oh, tariffs are gone, and now what do? You have egg on your face and you gotta drop the price again, or do like a 3DS and have an ambassador program if you bought it at the raised price. Like so I feel like there's a lot to consider with that, because it's not like these tariffs are a set in stone law thing, and it's been so loosey-goosey. I mean, like, just today we were talking about how all of a sudden China has a 104% tariff, and, like, it's just done. So it's like, how do you navigate something that is so, unpredictable, on the spot, off the spot type thing? It's like, I would not want to be in that position, because it's like, well, what the fuck do you do? Do you charge people more? Do you charge the same? Do you charge, like, what do you, how do you navigate that? I don't know. Do you overshoot it and just hope that you don't fuck yourself over and you have to issue a lot of refunds, or do you just eat the cost of it for now? Like,
you sell all your games for $80 to help make up the cost.
I feel like they might, and just follow me along here, I feel like they might eat the cost. It's for one specific reason. For one very specific reason. And that is the fact that if you read before the tariffs thing came out, Nintendo was terrified of the response that people were giving the Switch 2 when it was $450 and when it was $500. They were trying to figure out what to do with that response. Now, when you take into account that they may make it a higher price on top of that, if they were already terrified with that price, maybe they're thinking, if we make this a higher price, we're going to be dead in the water, at least in the US.
So that's the thing, is like, I guess the way you look at it is, how at this point it's a loss. Either way, it's a loss. What will be more of a loss? Is the loss going to be from you eating the price of it with tariffs, or is the loss going to be people not buying it? And I feel like with how everything is right now, I feel like they would be smarter to charge the same, because I feel like you run into an issue where you'll have more people not buying it because everything's getting more expensive.
Exactly. I think that if they create that hype by people buying it at the normal price now, even with the tariffs and eating the cost, that people will be more likely to see more people that have got the system in their hands that are just normal people, not your YouTube celebrities or what have you, that sort of deal, and see the normal people's reaction to the console. And as such, that would push the sale later on down the line and catapult them to even higher profits than they would have had. That's my thoughts on it.
And then
from my standpoint.
If it goes on for if it goes on for months on end, then you say, hey guys, sorry, we got to raise the price. And then maybe there's like in that time frame, maybe there's like, all right, you bought this while the price was raised, have a year of NSO for free, or have like a game for free, or something of that nature. But I think when the window for decision making here is so small,
I think it's because it's a launch. It's a launch. Yes. I think they're not going to be able to up the price even more due to it being the launch of the system. Because if they launch it at the wrong price, they risk killing the entire momentum of the console altogether and creating another Wii U situation.
For sure. So I think
it's gonna be more like a 3DS situation, but
because there was a lot of. I mean, I said, I bought the 3DS when it was the full price. Day one. And I was a part of the ambassador program, and I mean, I think, even then was a different time too, because I was in a very different place in my life where I had more expendable income.
Yeah.
But I think the choice here the smarter choice would be to eat the cost of it while you can, because I don't know how many Switches they have in the States already, but I would assume there's a buffer between the systems that they haven't paid the tariffs on versus the systems that they will have to pay the tariffs on.
Yeah, you would expect
so you have a small buffer window of opportunity there where you can get a majority of your sales and still have a successful launch, and then, like I said, in a few months' time, they end up, hey guys, listen, we have to raise the price. Then you raise it, and then you, like you said, do the ambassador, do whatever. But you can't. I don't think Nintendo can afford to raise
up the price when they already have
anymore,
or what the price was before. Yeah, I don't think they can. I think they're gonna have to go with the initial 400 and 500 price. And here's the thing: I think there will be a lot more people like me that if that is the price, because if it does stay the same price, I'm buying 3. So I think getting those sales out there and getting them into people's hands will be much more valuable than passing on the price to the consumer.
I think Nintendo too has a responsibility, right? And you might disagree with this. I think they have a responsibility to say, hey, to come out and be like, and be transparent, be like, listen, we're keeping the price the same, but it's going to be limited to these first runs of systems. So if you want to get this at a low price, do it now.
Yeah.
And it's gonna if it turns out that they don't have to raise the price, it's gonna look a little shitty, like they caused a fire sale and they kind of made people go out and buy it or try to convince them to go out and buy it. But realistically, I'd rather you be honest and say, hey, listen, after we run through these first production runs, we might very well have to raise the price. So if you can get your hands on one, get your hands on one, and we'll do our best to not let scalpers get it, at least through their own channels. Whether or not that happens through other stores is to be seen.
Yeah.
But I think that amount of honesty would go at least the extra mile for me personally.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I at least am getting 2, no matter what. At this point, because I fear and also expect whatever the price is to get a lot worse before it gets better.
For sure.
So now there's certain cutoff, and I told you my cutoff. My cutoff is $600.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if they come out tomorrow and say, "Hey guys, it's $600 basic," I'm not getting it. It's not happening.
Yeah. I still am.
No, I'm sorry. I can still get Metroid Prime 4 for the Switch 1, and I will wait to play Mario Kart and whatever else. I refuse. It's just, and I think it's so much so not that it's necessarily the price of the system, but again, the price of everything else. I can't afford that amount of money. I can barely afford the $450 to be for real with you guys.
No, I understand.
The $600 is a whole other that's a lot. And I think that,
like I mentioned, I took a lot of my collectible stuff and sold it off to be able to offset the price of the Switch too. And then also I've had money saved up for several months that I've held back for it as well. Right. So I already had that sitting there. I already had $800 sitting there. I already got another $700. So I have the ability to get it specifically because I factored in for it. Basically, and I understand that it's not feasible for most people to buy it at 600 if it does come out to 600. But I'm a dirty, rotten consumer that loves new electronics, and if there's something that catches my interest, I'm gonna buy it. It's as simple as
that. Get that dopamine hit.
I need it. Bro, my finger's so fucked right now.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. For me personally, I don't know. It's a complex situation, and I was actually going through some of my I've recently been going through my collection, seeing on downside, just getting rid of things too in general, just stuff that I don't use that I think other people would appreciate more than me, and I don't want to be that hoarder. So that might be
a great way to look at things too. That's a great way to look at things.
I haven't touched I have a Wind Waker edition Wii U. I haven't touched in the better part of probably 10 years.
And that's probably worth at least a good 300, 350.
That's what and if that can pay for a Switch 2 or get me within touching distance of a Switch 2, hey, cool. Good for me. Yeah. I'll get rid of it. Everything that was good on the Switch 2 or on the Wii U is on the Switch anyway. So
it's very true.
But I still firmly believe, just to my original, what I was making a point of, I do believe that $450 is a fair price for that system.
I agree.
When you compare it to other things, I've seen a lot of people comparing it to the Steam Deck, and I think that is a disingenuous comparison.
Hi, Steam Deck user here. I can't go 3 seconds without mentioning the Steam Deck. I am actually that guy. You know this. This.
I love my Steam Deck too.
I think the Switch 2 is better than the Steam Deck. Looking at it purely hardware side of things, my Steam Deck can't do ray tracing, and I know for a fact the Switch 2 can. That's impressive enough right there. I've seen how Cyberpunk 2077 runs on the Steam Deck. I've seen how it runs on the Switch. It runs better on the Switch. If you have that kind of comparable thing to be able to sit down and compare the two side by side, it's just a better... okay, I'm not going to say better, because Steam Deck is really good for emulation. Steam Deck is really good for a lot of things. It's a very versatile system that gives you a lot of options. But I will say, from a purely horsepower standpoint, the Switch 2 is better. It's it's apples to oranges. They're both better for different reasons.
For sure. I think after owning a Steam Deck for as long as I've had one,
yes,
I love it. Don't get me wrong.
Me too. I absolutely
if anybody
adore it.
asks me about getting one, I'm like, yeah, no. What do you do with? What's your plans to do with it? First of all, but otherwise, I love mine.
I think you need to also ask them what are how competent are you with computer things?
Yes,
because that is something that you do run into when it comes to Steam Deck, with it being a Linux distro.
But what I'm saying is, I feel like when you look at a base Steam Deck, which is what you'd have to compare the Switch to pricing wise, it's $400 for a base Steam Deck, and you don't get half of what you're getting horsepower wise with the Switch 2.
Yes.
And then when you look at it from a more consumer basis, because the Steam Deck is an enthusiast thing, whereas something like an Xbox Series S is more of a consumer thing. It's outperforming the Series S in multiple games, and the Series S is $300. So this is a system that is better than an Xbox Series S that you can take with you anywhere.
I'm just saying, I can't get a flat 60 FPS at a high enough settings with Street Fighter 6 on my Steam Deck. I can't. I can't. It's not possible. Steam Deck Switch 2 is doing it already.
Steam Deck screen is a 90 hertz refresh rate. The Switch 2 is 120.
Yep.
I think some people have modded the Steam Deck to be able to do that, but
you can buy screens and swap them in, but then that's a whole.
You're kind of getting into the weeds there a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of a ship of Theseus when you get into all of that.
Yeah, I do think that's a thing also the Steam Deck has up on the Switch too, is that option to change things up how you see fit, and the modability of the console itself. Because sure as fuck, Nintendo ain't letting you mod nothing, you know? So I think it's different instances for different people, obviously.
I think the people going online comparing the two systems, I think that there's no comparison. I think it's a lot of people looking at the price of both of those items and looking at what both of those items can do on a very surface level. I mean, like, look, your Steam Deck's better. Like, I mean, sure, I guess it depends what you're doing.
Very tech illiterate that are going in and using this argument. They don't understand the two technologies. They'll point to things like, well, Switch 1 games are being emulated by the Switch 2, so it's just like emulation through the Linux distro, and it's like, it's not. It really isn't. It's very different because it's like built from the ground up specifically for it, and like there's also lots of options there, so you really need to look and see what you want out of your system and what kind of gamer you are in general. And I think right now, if you want fidelity, then the Switch 2 is a better option
for sure. And I will say too, because a buddy of mine just actually bought a Legion, the little like the Steam Deck clone, whatever the fuck it is.
ROG Ally or Legion is Lenovo. Yeah,
I don't
Lenovo.
think so. For those of you,
like 700, aren't they, or 800?
I think so. For those of you who haven't used a Steam Deck, right? Yes. So it's gonna sound silly because I have this big honking thing with a lot of horsepower. It does two things. It plays Vampire Survivors and Balatro. That is what that machine does.
Kind of. Mine is basically an indie game machine. That's pretty much what it is for me.
And I think that's where it kind of shines because it can play those games for longer.
And not only that, but a lot of those games aren't going to be released first or at all on console in some respect. So
the best comparison I have for how the Steam Deck runs a little bit more hardware-intensive games is when Uncharted 4 first came out, and people were putting them into their base PlayStation 4s, and it sounded like a jet taking off.
Yeah.
The Steam Deck, when you are pushing it to its limits, you can feel it because it gets very hot. You can hear it. You can smell it. I would venture again. I mean, obviously, I haven't had a Switch 2 in my hands yet, but I couldn't remember a time where I was using my Switch 1 and I heard the fans kick on into maximum overdrive like they do on the Steam Deck. Yeah. Even with like my other consoles as well. So
you don't have an OLED, right?
No, I have a base model
LCD base like me. Yeah, I've heard the OLED did replace the fan with a different one, and that is not as big of a issue.
But also, the OLED is like $100 to $200 more than a Switch 2.
It's $399.
No,
isn't it?
You can't. No.
Hold on, let me double check. I'm sorry. That may have been information. $549. You're correct. Yes, it is. It is.
So you could the base model
$50 more for a 12. Yeah.
Well, if you're just going off of base system because they don't launch with anything, it's $100 more for an OLED Steam Deck, base model OLED, and then $200 more if you get the 1 terabyte, and then the one I have, which is also the same one you have, Brandon, is the LCD model for $400. That has a smaller display, less refresh rate, worse battery than the Switch 2, and a worse screen.
Correct.
So you can't compare them.
Oh no, I'm not trying to compare that. I just wanted to give usage cases.
I'm not saying you can't compare them, Brandon.
Oh, you mean like the general audience out there being like,
it's a general
just buy a Steam Deck instead. Yeah, those people.
It's a brain dead take.
Like I said, they are tech illiterate. They don't understand things. Because if you look at things like, and I'm going to say this right now, and I will stand by it because I think it's going to happen. If you look at things like Monster Hunter on Steam Deck, Monster Hunter Wilds that just came out. It's unplayable. It is not playable. You cannot play it on Steam Deck. We are already getting games that are releasing that cannot be played on Steam Deck. It's just not possible because of the horsepower of the Steam Deck. I firmly believe something like Monster Hunter Wilds will be playable on the Switch 2 within 2 years.
That's another thing too. It will be the last thing I have to say about the Steam Deck portion of this. Is you're getting tailored games made for a system versus a system that is being adapted to games.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. Yeah. All right. What else?
There was another thing I wanted to mention. Give me 1 second to think about it. Oh, cartridges, game keys. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. That I think is important also.
Sure.
So there has been a little bit of potential misinformation going down around this, where people were assuming that the games such as Switch 2 Edition, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom, as well as Kirby, would just be the Switch copy with a key for the add-on. And several people have gotten confirmation that the add-on is actually included in the Switch 2 cartridge. That is what I've been seeing now.
I saw that confirmed
obviously
today,
don't have that confirmed by Nintendo yet, but
I think it was actually.
They've shown emails. They've shown emails where Nintendo has confirmed it with other outlets, but we don't know, like, Nintendo themselves hasn't come out and been like, "Hey, everybody, this is how it works with Switch 2." They haven't explained it themselves, but they've explained it through, I guess, osmosis by telling like reviewers and people like that, journalists. But then again,
to not include that on the card too because they're big. They're like 64 gig cards.
64 gigs, and I know Cyberpunk already said they opted for the biggest card, and that their game again will be included on the card instead of being a game card key. Yeah. I also saw that Cyberpunk 2077 has gyro controls on Switch 2, which is neat, and mouse controls. So that's also
I saw a quick snippet of that, and people were playing Cyberpunk in the New York showing for the Switch 2.
That's where I saw a bunch of
stuff. There was pictures of people finding the Balatro references in Cyberpunk, and I was like, yes, this is great.
So a few other things. The game carts will still taste bad.
Yep,
that's what we heard.
Also, I want to do a taste. I want to do a taste test and see if it's different or if it's worse.
Brother, you know I'm doing it. I'm fucking doing
it. The minute I want to let you know something. The minute I found out Nintendo put some icky shit on it and was like, "We don't want you putting this in your mouth," I was like, "I need to put this in my mouth right now."
Same here, man.
I've never needed to put something in my mouth so fast, actually.
I thought the exact same thing. I did it when I got my Switch 1, and I'll do it with my Switch 2 also.
For sure.
Going back to that, though, there are some game key games that are, like, very cheap when you look at them compared to other things. And when you look at that, it makes me wonder if, like, third-party publishers are, like, trying to stay away from, like, the pricing Nintendo's going with. That way they can continue to, like, be in people's good graces and get their games sold. So, for instance, going back to Cyberpunk 2077, the entire game and its DLC expansion pack is, like, $60 on the cart. That's really good. And then
$70 for it.
I thought I read somewhere that it was 60. I'll double check, but I thought I read somewhere that it was 60.
It's the Ultimate Edition with the DLC, and that goes for like $70-$80 on PC, I believe.
I did also see anecdotally, and I think this is also kind of important to say too, is even in Europe, I did just see some commentary, and this is more common over there, but I did see someone comment that the pricing for the games, even though the MSRP is higher for the physical versus the digital, it sounded like a lot of retailers were just selling them all at the cheaper price. Because they are not strictly like necessary to follow that pricing, kind of up to them. So whether or not that holds up through launch, I don't know, but I did just anecdotally see that on Reddit. So possible.
Okay.
Okay, it is 70. I can confirm that now. Sorry.
I will say, like, that's kind of where I get into the weeds a little bit with the pricing of things.
That would be $40 for the base game, and then the DLC for $30.
Yeah, but the thing is, hold on. I want to make sure I'm not talking out of turn here. Let me just Google real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. I can get the Ultimate Edition of Cyberpunk 2077 for $60 right now for the PS5.
Okay.
So my thing is with that is that it's more
82
expensive
on Steam.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm going off of strictly home console because that's the comparison here. The PS5 version, obviously a better performing version. So
not going to be active 40 FPS with VRR enabled.
Yes.
Which is what they confirmed for docked mode on Switch 2.
So my thing is, I get that it's a brand new version for a new system.
Yeah, no.
And you're probably charging that price for that, but also you're charging more for a lesser version of the same game. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like
I do agree, but I will ask then, and I do think this is also something to take into account. And
Sure.
Although it is a bit of a cop out, I still look at this and I'm like, you know what? I would probably pay the extra $10 for that, and that's the gyro and mouse controls option. Being able to use like mouse controls and gyro on a home console version of Cyberpunk is way better than just using a controller, in my opinion. I played Cyberpunk on PS5. I have the DLC. I have all the stuff of Cyberpunk on PS5. I do feel like the dead zone of the control sticks when it comes to a lot of first-person shooters on PlayStation 5 and most certainly on Xbox is really off-putting. And I think to have the option to use different control schemes as well as the on-the-go option, I think that's, in my usage case, I think that's worth the extra $10.
And that's fair for you. I don't know. I've already bought the game twice, so I probably won't be buying it again for the Switch 2.
Same, and I feel the same way. I'll probably buy it when it's on sale for like $40.
Yeah,
because I would be like, this is okay for me. I'm okay with this.
I don't know. I feel like that just might be like a Switch 2 tax for that, just because it's like
it's possible.
It's a new version for a new system. I don't know. I can go on with that, but it is what it is. If you decide that, you know, this is the version you want to play and you're okay paying that $70, cool. When I have other systems that
it was more of like a devil's advocate kind of thing, where I was just trying to point out that there are usage cases
for sure,
for why some people may be more inclined to play the Switch 2 edition, and why it kind of makes sense because there is extra development put in there specifically for that sort of deal, and there is something that you're getting there on the Switch 2 that you're not getting on any other system.
CDPR is just trying to recoup some loss.
I don't disagree. I'm just looking at it from why a consumer would be interested in that, and why a consumer would be like, yeah, you know what, I think I'll go with this version as opposed to, you know, any other version. But no, I do understand where you're coming from as well, and I'm not justifying it for everyone. I'm just justifying or trying to come up with a usage case for some people why they might be okay with that price, more or less.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, to be completely honest, a lot of Switch 2 games and me double dipping on them is going to come down to how they innovate with the mouse controls, because I do think it's a really interesting concept. Yes. And I also am very curious if we'll have Nintendo branded mouse pads at some point that we can buy.
That's really cool.
I mean, I kind of want one. I still have my mouse pad from Mario Paint. Use that.
You can do that.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of actually want like a Nintendo branded mouse pad. I would use it for my Switch 2 and to play CS:GO.
Yeah, actually, the one from Mario Paint actually probably would be pretty nice because it was hard. I don't know if you remember it. It was like a nice size piece of plastic.
Yeah, it's like a Wacom tablet or Wacom. I don't know.
Whatever they are. I don't even know. I think you got it right the first time. I don't ever say that word, so that sounds right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I'm cautiously optimistic for the Switch 2 and the launch.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens with pricing. If I can get because I talked to my friends about this yesterday. I think this is kind of my scenario for getting a Switch 2.
I was gonna say I did need to say one more thing about pricing. If you wanted to like hold this thought for 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we were talking about like $80 games, specifically Mario Kart, and justifying it, right?
Yeah.
The pack-in version makes it $50. So then where do we go with that? That's like $30 off. So then did they think the game was only worth $50 if you're already buying a Switch 2? Food for thought. That's all.
Just for sure, but I think that's just the bundling. You know, I mean, like.
No, I get that. But like most bundles, you get like, you know, $10, $15 off. You're getting a lot off with that. Is also something.
I mean, the bundle that I referenced earlier for that comes with Mario Wonder. I think that's like. It's the whole game for free, because how much is a Switch OLED base?
$350, I think.
To Google it.
Yeah, let me see.
Not 100% sure, but I think.
All right, it's a Switch OLED base is $350. Mm-hmm. So for $350, you're getting Mario Wonder for free at that point.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Yeah,
it's just taking into account it's a launch title.
Yeah.
Like when we bought the Switch, we didn't get a launch edition of the Switch that gave us
for sure.
Tears of the Kingdom for like $30 or something. We didn't get that, so I was like,
no, but we did get a similar bundle with the Wii U with Nintendo Land.
That's
I love Nintendo
the Pro
Land
version. I know I do too.
Sure.
I really
Nintendo
hope
Land's so good.
I think they can do it with the if they want to make a version where you can use the Switch as a controller, like OG Switch 1. I think they can do it. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah. So my thing is, if I can get a Switch 2 bundle with Mario Kart day one, I will be getting it. If I can't get it with Mario Kart, I'm gonna wait until there's like a different bundle, because price is going up or down, whatever. I know that we talked about that being like a factor in it all. But if I can get the system bundled with a game, then it kind of stretches my dollar a little bit further in that sense. But otherwise, I think I'm cool, because the one game that I really, really want to play this year from Nintendo, besides Kirby Air Riders, is Prime 4, and Prime 4 is coming out on the Switch 1. And then when I eventually do get a Switch 2, I'll be able to play it on the Switch 2 nicer, because it'll have an upgrade. But yeah, if I can't get the bundle for the Switch 2, I'll wait it out. I'll weather the storm. Because honestly, too, and I thought about this, and I also discussed this with my friends as well. You know, I bought the Switch 2 or the Switch 1 on launch. I bought the PS5 on launch.
Same.
And in both of those instances, I felt like, with the PS5 less so, because I at least had older games that I could play on the PS5 from the PS4. Mm-hmm. But I felt like with my Switch 1, I really didn't get a lot of use out of it in the first year.
Yeah, because you weren't a big Zelda fan, so it didn't.
Like the first big game I played on my Switch was the Blaster Master remake.
Yeah, I feel like the first year of my Switch, I got the most usage out of it that I ever got. Yeah, so I'm in a different demographic there.
Just for me,
in the middle,
personally, like, since I didn't play Zelda, and I think, when did Mario Odyssey come out? Was it like...
It was later that year. It was like I think late summer.
So Mario Odyssey launched October 27th, 2017. Yeah. So
that's still one of my favorite Switch games.
For sure. Time. So 7 months after the Switch launch, we got Mario Odyssey, and that's when I really started using my Switch, was towards the end of that year. So I was like, well, I should really wait in general, because what's the point of buying this $450 piece of hardware for it to just sit?
Yeah, so I played a lot of indie titles that they released in the first year. I really wanted to just experience them on the Switch, because this was also before the Steam Deck had released. So the Switch was my only way to play these indie games on the go. So like Enter the Gungeon. I bought Fast RMX, which was an awesome game. I mean, like, I had a lot of I think the first year also was Golf Story, which Golf Story was phenomenal as well. I played a lot of different, like, smaller titles on the Switch, and I'm really hoping that's the same kind of case that's going to happen with the Switch 2 this year when it comes out as well. Because I feel like at the beginning of a console's lifespan, at least for me, I'm a lot more willing to take chances on smaller titles and just buy a bunch of smaller titles and check those out. And I really enjoy what I'm able to find when I do that. So
yeah, I mean, if again too, like I took it. I won't say I took a chance on Blaster Master, because I love the original one on NES. So like the remake from the remake that came out was kind of obvious for me to get.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was all three of them. Like the whole series that they made with that, phenomenal. But just more so for me, like, I understand what you're saying with those games, but also we're in a different situation now, whereas, like, if I want to play Enter the Gungeon 2 is not coming out till next year anyway, but, like, if I want to play, like, indie games like that,
you have your Steam Deck. I do too.
Yeah. I have a PS5. I have a computer that I just built last year when I knew tariffs were coming. So, you know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of other avenues that I can play those games, and if I want to play them sitting down, like, on a couch, I'll buy them on Steam, or I'll buy them on my PS5. So that case, is
no, you're right. You're 100% correct, and I didn't even think about that. I mean, I guess I'm just so excited for new tech. I love new tech.
I love new tech. Don't get me wrong, Brad. I love new tech as much as the next guy. I mean, for the longest time, I'm a big Google Pixel fan, and for the longest time,
I still need to get one, because I heard they're very good for, like, taking pictures for, like, selling, like, items and shit. And I do a lot of selling.
Yeah, I agree. I've used it for
very good
various of things. But for a while, I was getting every new Pixel that came out just because I love the phones. And then just hardware in general. I software is great. I've always loved a hardware launch just because it feels like you're ushering in a new era of whatever system or thing that you're buying. Be it a game console or like for me recently becoming a homeowner, like getting like the new Nest stuff, like the better thermostat,
that's really cool,
and things like that. So, and I don't know, just I guess it's also a little bit nostalgic too, because I remember like as a kid, like when I felt like every time you turned around there was a new Game Boy coming out.
Yeah,
and like that was always exciting. So I feel like there's a little bit of nostalgia in that aspect as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope for the best, but also, as I say, hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Also, I'm a little worried. I know I'm getting at least 2, but the question is, how much am I going to pay, and how much more money will I have for other games? That's my question.
I will be getting right now. So my partner currently has a Switch Lite. So in desperate need of an upgrade, they don't really care about getting a Switch 2, which is fine. But one of my friends is selling. He has a Tears of the Kingdom OLED system that he'll be getting rid of. He wanted to trade into GameStop to get a Switch 2, and I was like, wait a minute. My partner loves Zelda. You're selling your Zelda Switch. They have a Switch Lite. Let's make some deals here.
Yep.
So like that works out for every party.
True.
Which the other thing is too, if you guys plan, I don't know if you guys hold on to your systems, but GameStop, and I assume by proxy Best Buy and Target, well maybe not Target, but Best Buy will be offering like $175 I think for the OLED, and then $150 for the regular Switch, and then $100 for the lights.
So I already sold my Gen 1 Switch, which was hackable, on eBay for a little over $200. Both of them.
Worth it.
So that's what I ended up doing. And that's just the tablet. I still have everything else from the...
Do you hold on to your stuff, Mike, or do you just, when the new thing comes out, you trade in the old?
Anything. Okay. I have, I think, everything that I've ever got. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, options for people who, maybe want to do that. Or something I've thought about, because I'm fortunately a little dexterous, was just going on Facebook Marketplace and looking for broken Switches and then fixing them and trading those into GameStop, because fuck them.
Also an option too.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually.
But yeah, I feel like I've talked a lot.
I think we have a shit ton to say about the Switch 2, and I know for a fact I've definitely forgotten something. But I don't know. Oh, no Hall effect sticks. There we go. That was another one. I forgot about that.
Yeah. People are making a bigger deal out of that than they need to.
I think they're just going in like expecting like, oh, now we're gonna have stick drift no matter what. When it comes down to it, I think like they could have a different kind of stick design that's even better than Hall effect. They probably won't. They could, but
they could. I will say this: they definitely won't have one that's better than Hall effect. They could have one that's a bit better, because obviously Nintendo acknowledged that stick drift existed because you could send your Joy-Cons in for repair.
Yes,
so they know it was an issue.
Yes.
So hopefully it's better quality of stick. Obviously, it's not going to be Hall effect, but also,
and it can't be Hall effect.
I think it circles.
It could never have been Hall effect.
No, but Brandon, I think it circles back to what you and I were talking about with people being so tech illiterate. Is I think Hall effect became like a buzzword for people.
It did.
Like, absolutely. If it doesn't have that, I don't want it.
They don't even understand how it works, because Hall effect uses magnets. You can't have magnets on top of magnets, which the Switch already has magnets in it. So it wouldn't work.
Guess what? Don't understand that. Every hardware thing that you have currently with a toggle, be it a Steam Deck, a DualSense, an Xbox controller, those aren't Hall effects. I even think the DualSense Edge and the higher end Xbox controllers have Hall effect sticks in them.
I think one of the swap out sticks you can buy is Hall effect
but like it doesn't ship. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't ship with a Hall effect.
I don't think it ships with it. I don't think it's.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like it kind of.
I'm not 100% because I'm not the demographic for those.
Yeah.
Like the higher end controllers.
I feel like it became like a tech buzzword for people, and I'm like.
Oh, it definitely did.
Yeah, I'm like it is what it is, and you can't put Hall effects in Nintendo Switches because like you said, there's magnets and everything else in there right now, so. I think you would actually have interference from that.
Yeah, it would cause a lot of problems for the Switch Joy-Cons since they use magnets now. So, yeah. But magnets attract, but also
how do they work?
More magnet. That's a great question. I'll ask ICP.
Thank you. I do know one thing. We are gonna have a lot of bangers this year. So I expect our Game of the Year talk to be fucking thick,
ridiculous.
Dude.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, just between everything going on between at least between Nintendo and Sony, Xbox is kind of.
I mean, dude, I love Monster Hunter Wilds so much. I bought a second copy. So like that should tell you how much, because when my computer went tits up on me the other day, I didn't know if I was getting it back, so I immediately bought it on PS5, like quite literally, because I just wanted to continue playing the game.
Your first thing was let me log into my PS5 and just run this back
Monster Hunter. Yeah, that's literally what I did.
Love it.
And I'm already like halfway through the story, which I'm granted the story's only like 10 hours or something, but like I played 5 hours in one day after getting it.
So good.
Actually, it wasn't my immediate thought. My immediate thought was I need to go to the hospital, and then I bought Monster Hunter.
While you're at the hospital, you're on your PlayStation app on your phone, just fucking.
I actually turned to Katie while we were in the hospital, while my fingers being like glued back together, and I was like, can I buy Monster Hunter when we get home? And she was like, yes, honey, we can buy another copy of Monster Hunter for the PlayStation when you get home. And I was like, yay!
Can I get this? Also, we need to stop on the way home and get one of the adaptive controllers, because I do only have one hand right now.
I'm playing claw mode right now, which is really difficult, but
very good. Very, very good.
But I used to do it for like fighting games, so I just have to adapt my stance for every game now to that.
It won't be forever. You'll be all right.
Yeah, no, I'll be fine. I mean, like I said, the glue's holding together, and
just don't glue your hand to something.
Yeah.
Well, I have a bandage on it now, so it looks way better than it did before. Which means I don't have to look at it, so that's good. And also, the bandage gives an extra little padding, so if I accidentally because muscle memory is a thing when you're playing, that sometimes you won't even think and you'll just do the thing. I did that last night and I was like, fuck, this hurts. And then I got it bandaged and I was like, fuck, this still hurts, but way less.
Nice. Very nice.
All right.
Now, did I share that with people on the podcast? Like what happened? I don't think I did. I think I just said this before the podcast.
But I can put in what you said from
okay, I was going to say, I can explain it if I need to.
No, that's fine. I'll put in what was in there from earlier.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Anyways, we talked quite a bit about the Switch 2 stuff. Do you guys have anything else you still want to talk about? Are you ready to wrap up?
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Switch 2, are you getting it at launch, Mike?
Yeah, I plan to. That reminds me, I was going to say, I think the conversation, shifted too fast when I was going to mention this part, but I would say, because I know you guys are like, well, I may or may not, be okay with it day one, game wise, if it's not there. And I do agree with that. But I think I'm in an interesting position where, like, if for some reason I end up with a Switch 2 without any, like, Switch 2 games, I would also be, like, very content. Like, there is
like so many of my original Switch games on it, and I'm just like, I'm fine with this.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm fully planning on replaying Kirby in the Forgotten World. Like I had just started it, like we talked about. Yeah,
go back to Odyssey on the Switch too. It'll be awesome.
I don't know about Odyssey. I'm definitely going to do Tears of the Kingdom for sure, because that's one that I wanted to go back to recently. Civ 7 obviously has a nice upgrade.
I was going to say, you plan on getting Civ 7 for Switch 2 and playing that with the mouse? That's what I wanted to know most, because you're not really a mouse guy. Like,
yeah, not really mouse guy. I'd probably try it.
A controller, but I'd be curious to see and hear your thoughts after you try it with a mouse, because Civ is like built for a mouse, and it's a very good experience.
Fuck. You know what I just thought about, Brandon?
What?
There's the ports for Roller Coaster Tycoon on the Switch.
Oh, you know what I thought about? And we didn't even talk about this, Nick. The Switch 2 is about to be lit for rhythm games.
Ah! You're right.
Right? Wouldn't it be fucking awesome?
I know. Yeah, actually, you could do some pretty wild stuff with that.
Mm-hmm.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, but there for me, there's more than enough. And then even too stuff like the GameCube games. I'd be very happy with those kind of things. On there too.
Yeah, wait to play F-Zero again. Like,
yeah,
I can play it on my Steam Deck already, and I definitely have it on there already. But just having that option as well, since I'm already gonna have a Switch 2, I'm very excited to play that again.
I also say too, the other day I was in a certain mindset. I'll put it that way. And so I impulse bought a new SD card for the Switch 2 that I plan on getting.
Did you buy the correct one?
Yep. No, I did definitely buy the correct one.
You bought the Express for like fucking $100 and something extra dollars.
Yep, I did the 1 terabyte one, which was $200.
Oh, I was gonna say that's like $250. Wow. Holy shit.
Yep. Okay. Because I'm like, well, especially too, because it was around the time that like the tariffs were all being tossed around.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do not want to fuck around and find out how much this will cost.
Mike heard what Doug said. He was like, I'll show you, Douglas.
The other thing is, too, I had just anecdotally read something because of the Switch 2 announcement and because this has not been like, not necessarily like a widespread technology in terms of usage. Like, there's not a lot of them. So, even with this one, like, I think it's like a month delay before it ships. Because they're already having a hard time keeping up with demand. So
a friend of mine already got his in.
Oh, did they? That's good.
Yeah, he Lexar has a 1 terabyte one.
Yeah, that's the one I ordered.
Yeah, and he got he posted a picture. I want to say, was it yesterday? It's not that far up. There it is. Yeah, yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning, he has he bought the 512 Lexar Express card, and he's got it in his hand.
$49.99 because the 512 wasn't that much, was it?
Yeah, he got the 512, which I think. So
it's either 256 or 512. That's only $50, and I was looking at it like, maybe.
I mean, I always like going over what I think I need than under. So
that's fair, but I look at the install size for the Switch 2 games, which they've already released some of them, and it's not going to be that big a deal. Like, I think Donkey Kong is like fucking 12 gigs and Mario Kart's like 25. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal, honestly.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
the Lexar Play Pros are all out of stock. That's crazy.
Which ones?
All the Lexar Nintendo Switch cards, all out of stock.
I know why.
Yeah, I mean, I know why, Brandon.
Well, I know, but also I know who pushed people to that aside from Nintendo. Cheap Ass Gamer had a report on them, and then and then it was just they were gone like the same day. So that's also probably why Mike's is like backward.
Yeah, but he got in the cusp of being able to buy it, but they're like, go get it.
Yeah,
we'll get it.
We'll get it
eventually.
Yeah. So I'm waiting on that, but I didn't want to miss out on it. So. Especially considering too, I already have a 1 terabyte on my OG Switch, and I'm like, I'd like to transfer as much of that over as possible. So I have it available. So I have something like, I think we talked about like something like 120 fucking games on my Switch.
Yeah, so I have a decent chunk, but I think it's only like 50 or so.
Yeah. So it's just nice having them all together. Like if I want to play something, like I don't have to go fuck around and find cartridges. I'm just like, boom, go. But yeah, so I'm definitely very excited about it. I'm very excited about that. And I do agree. I think it's a very solid first year, especially like first party stuff. But I still think that there's at least probably a title or two missing. And there definitely has to be maybe like a late summer direct, maybe even like around June time. It's hard to kind of guess what they're going to do. But they have to lock in some dates for some of the stuff at the end of the year.
We didn't even talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. No, I mean it's the PS5 version. Did you notice that?
I did.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah. That's all. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I think I got my main stuff across with the Switch 2.
I think we've yapped enough about Switch 2. I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Well, let's wrap it up then. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us tonight. Don't forget to find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. And all of our old episodes are available at game-crunch.com. Brandon.
Hello.
Any final thoughts?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Nick?
No.
Okay. Wow, that said, my name is Mike Anastasia. You can find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin there or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
Unlocking magic mysteries. Game Crunch soaring far and wide. We've switched to a story. Game on tonight. Feel the spark. Neon glows against the dark. Level of hearts beating strong. In this realm we all belong. Hey, hey. This realm we all belong. Hey, we all belong. Game on tonight. Feel the spark. Neon glows against the dark. Level of hearts beating strong. In this realm we all belong. We all belong. We all belong. We all belong. We all belong.
How are you? You're not dead, which is great.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm somehow on my computer because I got home from the hospital, and then like several hours later, I just on a whim decided to hook up my computer, and now it turns on.
Interesting.
Nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that.
First of all, what happened with it the other day? And two, how the fuck did you cut your finger like that?
Gotcha. All right. You've worked on computers, or at least seen stuff to do with working on computers, right, Nick?
You've heard of
I
a
have.
computer before, right, Nick?
Yeah.
I've built my current computer right now. I built myself. I always hand build my computers.
So let me tell you. Let me just say two letters and then one word, and you will instantly know what happened.
Okay.
IO Shield.
Ah. Yeah, the piranha. The piranha of the
piranha.
computer.
Yeah. So
Yeah, fuck that shit.
I had to bend out the HDMI port that goes to my my motherboard because I needed to check and see if my own board, like integrated graphics, was working and if my graphics card was broken or not. So I bent that out because sometimes when you put the IO Shield like in, it still has like the metal things and it goes down into the
Correct.
USB and it's just a fucking pain in the ass. So I took a knife and I bent those out, right? And I didn't bend them back. So when I picked the computer back up, to like move it back into my room, it slipped out of my hand for a second, and then my finger ran across the IO shield and caught those two prongs and just right down the middle.
First of all, I saw it. You describing it feels worse somehow.
It was so bad because I immediately grabbed my finger and just started going, "Oh fuck, this hurts. This hurts so bad. This hurts so bad." And I was covering it with my like wrestling shirt, and I didn't even look at it. And then like I go into the room and I'm like, "All right, Dad, I'm gonna need you to actually help me get this doctored. You have like medical stuff and everything." And then like I take my other hand off of my finger without looking at my finger, and just there is blood running all down my arm. And then I look over to the side, and there's just a trail of blood running down the entire hallway. And I'm like, "Oh God!" And I nearly pass out. And then I just immediately start having panic attacks. And then that's when I got rushed to the hospital.
Very good.
You will never forget that.
No,
I won't. But I'm okay. I've already played the new Fortnite festival season with my fucked up finger. But it's bandaged now, so I'm alright. So we're good.
Nice. Very good.